Hi, welcome to X3, One Topic, Three Pundits. I'm your host, John C. Dvorak. I'm here with Andrew Eisner and Joe Engo, and we're about to discuss the foibles of a famous company, you've heard of them, AT&T, and the fact that they're now discussing putting caps, or at least some analysts think they're discussing it. We don't have access to their meetings. But caps on their DSL service to the tune of, well, it's pretty, the caps are high.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be 100 gigabit, or gigabytes, sorry.
100
gigabyte for just normal. Well, I'm sorry, yeah, 150 for normal. And then if you subscribe to the television service as well, then you get 250. For most users, yes, that will work. You know, but they're going after the people that are just doing huge torrenting of files and, you know, downloading movies all the time and whatnot. But also they're going after the people that are using Netflix a lot. If you use Netflix a lot, you're going to hit those caps.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well, what's a Netflix film? It's about 3 gigabytes.
I don't know the exact size, but it's got to be up there.
You know, I think.
But even then, I mean, if you know, if you
how many movies are you gonna watch? That's 90 gigs a month.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people that, you know, they'll just have an Apple TV set up, or, you know, these other devices, and just put their kids in front of it. Say, here, watch any, you know, cartoons you want, and they'll sit there all day long just watching videos, day in and day out, and you're gonna hit that cap.
Well, then it would be three. I would say the maximum amount of bandwidth you'd be using would be 3 gigs for 2 hours, or which would be 12 to 30. You can do 30 gigs a day if you were on TV all day.
And the fact is, though, I think they're more sort of setting the levels for the future. I mean, you know, a Blu-ray disc is 25 gigabytes. I mean, so if you ultimately, if you really want to watch a 1080p movie, you know, with not a huge amount of compression, which you should, I mean, then you're going to be chewing up, you know, 250 gigabytes in, you know, a couple of weekends. So I think they're getting, you know, sort of setting the expectations, like, you know, trying to keep people in line early on.
Well, my prediction is that all the companies are going to start doing this. Suddenly, everybody's going to have caps across the board, and then some companies are going to start getting smart and say, "Well, you know what? You know, we need to bring in more business. Let's reintroduce, you know, unlimited." Then suddenly, everybody's going to flock to them, and then the rest of the industry is just going to conform to it. Just like back in the day with AOL, you know, they had 50 hours free and all that kind of crap. Then eventually, somebody introduced unlimited. Then suddenly, the entire industry just followed suit. And I think that's what's going to happen with the bandwidth caps.
Well, all I know is that anytime AT&T is involved, I'm suspicious.
Exactly.
These guys, I don't like the company. I've said so. I've said it in a column. I've said it before. When we had AT&T phone service, which I refused to have long distance with them, we got slammed 2 or 3 times after we discontinued it. They changed our password of the files. They billed us for services we never received, and you had to fight and fight and fight for months on end. And you try to get a hold of somebody to complain about. There's nobody to talk to. They're all in India, and it's a bunch of people that have to read from scripts. It's a miserable operation. I don't like it, and I'm not going to use the system anyway. I actually like Comcast. I think their internet service is fine. I don't know. It's only
for the most part,
fees are a little high, but you know
it's a little expensive. But they, you know, it doesn't go down that much. In fact, it's more reliable.
It is pretty reliable.
You know, it has gone down, but it's like once every 6 months it goes down for maybe.
Speed-wise, Comcast is definitely one of the faster ones. But I mean, they do some, you know, pretty suspicious things on their network. For example, a couple of weeks ago, there was an outage. It was a pretty widespread outage. And the strange thing is that I was able to ping certain hosts, but I couldn't connect to those hosts on port 80. And I was able to connect those hosts on other ports. So that tells me that Comcast was definitely up to something shady, or they have some sort of transparent proxy that you can't see.
What do you suspect they're doing?
Well, if port 80 is not responding and all the other ports are responding, that tells me that they have some sort of proxy that went down.
Port 80 is the common.
Exactly, that's used for web traffic. So that means that they're intercepting that web traffic in some way, or they're doing some sort of traffic shaping.
You're being a little paranoid, Joe, but
well, no, I mean it's.
Well, that's your job. Your job to be paranoid.
It's an interesting point, though, that somebody you identify this. I didn't read about that, but port 80 is blocked and everything else is open. What's going on?
Exactly. So I mean, there's definitely something shady going on there. Comcast is notorious for that. They just want to get rid of Netflix, and they just want everybody just to subscribe to their cable service. They're incredibly expensive, but yes, they are generally the more reliable one.
Here's your recommendation of sorts. You've been watching X3.